for another episode of Saving Time. This week, not so much saving time, but oh my goodness, we are saving money and making a beautiful meal. So, might be a weekend meal more than a weekend night meal. You can choose, but you're gonna be happy. We are doing pot roast, okay? We're doing, look at this beautiful cut of beef, Zares, $5.99 a pound. We're gonna make a beautiful meal out of this. Beef, potatoes, carrots, gravy, gorgeous supper coming our way. And I got everything I need for this meal I only spent $15 because I still had some potatoes from last week. If you don't, they're only $3, so you're still coming in under $24. What is a top drawer meal? Top drawer, I know, right? I've got the craziest things I say. Nevertheless, top drawer meal right here. Big meal, small budget. I love it. How can you go wrong? Right off the bat, start preheating your oven to 375. We're gonna start our beef and then we add the vegetables after. And I've rinsed the beef and I've got it sitting out coming to room temperature. I want us to season it just simply salt and pepper. Nothing fancy at this point. And you know how much I like to season on a plate to make things easy. Just get a little bit of salt there. I don't know, I probably did about a tablespoon. And then some pepper. Just like that, too easy. You know what, beef and pepper get along. Beef and pepper get along brilliantly. I know I'm moving quick, but you know what, it's not really, because once we get going, then we're gonna sit down. Like, it's one of those meals. You kind of go and then you sit, and then you go and then you sit. Just use your fingers to blend them together. So salt and pepper alone. I've rinsed that beef, I want to pat it dry. If it's wet, it won't brown for us, okay? So we need it to brown. We're going to sear it in our pan first and then roast it. Seal in those juices, keep it from drying out, okay? So I dried one side and now we'll just dry the other side. And there is a beautiful piece of fat on this beef, and I know you're thinking, beautiful, no, you want that fat. It's going to render itself while it roasts and come down and keep our beef moist and flavorful. That can be, you know what, for now it can go in my compost bowl. So, hands on, okay? All hands on deck. We're just going to, as we have in the past, season it all the way around. Just keep coating it. And we might as well use all of it. We've got it on our plate. Just drag it around and make it nice. Okay, just, I mean, this isn't hard, this is easy. And I like doing it this way because, I mean, now it's coated. If we were trying to shake it, we'd have it all over our hands. Last thing we need. Speaking of hands, I'm just gonna wash mine. And then we can get back to it. Now, I've been wanting to do a roast beef dinner on the show, and a couple of times it's been a good price and would have worked out fine, but I kept worrying about the time, and this time I decided some things are worth the effort. Sometimes it's okay to say, supper's a little bit late, or I'm gonna work a little extra today, because it makes a good meal. So I decided we were in for it this week. And you know what? I think that you should make those decisions sometimes, okay? I think that we should go ahead and say, I'm gonna spend a little extra time tonight and make it be a big deal. I've got some olive oil here. You know I'm gonna tell you any kind of oil will do. This week I'm getting out the cast iron. Reason is, I'm gonna sear the beef on the stove and then I can just move it into the oven in this pan. If you don't already own a cast iron pan, put it on your Christmas wish list. Okay, I'm not even kidding. You cannot go wrong. Remember the apple crisp? I mean, anything goes. Like, anything and everything can go in your cast iron pan. Put about 2 tablespoons of oil in the bottom here, just to make sure our beef doesn't stick right off the bat. And then start heating it up. We'll bring it over here. And just get about medium heat going there, just to heat up the oil a little bit. Don't heat an empty pan, okay? Don't heat empty pans. Empty pans it's not gonna go well. Always put a little something, that's kind of gross. Let's get that out of the way. So the beef, we're gonna put it in, we're gonna sear it on all sides. In about 2 to 3 minutes per side, no big deal, easy peasy. You want to get color on it, okay? We want to get color on it so it's going to be good to go. While we wait for that pan to heat up, I've got red wine because we want our gravy to be delicious. And I've got beef broth for the same reason. We'll talk in a minute about alternatives to the wine if you don't want to go that way. And I've got a measuring cup here. We want 3 cups of broth, 1 cup of wine. If you don't want to use wine, okay, I've been distracted today. And I'm going to pop in here and tell you, if you don't love the idea of adding red wine to your broth, but you want your gravy to be elevated and special. So when you mix up when you do your beef broth and you're adding it to the pan on the stove, stir in 2 to 3 tablespoons of red currant jelly. Trust me, it will just your gravy, okay? It's just gonna add that little kick that makes it special. So people say you do a good job of roast beef dinner. Also, I also forgot to say, sales end at Zehrs on Wednesday, November 24th. Get in there and get these good deals. Okay, thank you, bye. Right off the bat, and this is just that same cooking wine. I mean, it's $3.50 in the grocery store. It is a no-brainer. Speaking of grocery stores, Zehrs. Zehrs is who has provided the means for this beautiful meal this week. Great buy, and look at this beef, it's lovely. Get in there and get some. If you're not going to cook it right away, put it in your freezer, you can't go wrong. And top this right up then to the 4-cup mark. Now, the broth this week, the no-name broth at Zehrs, 99 cents. Again, great opportunity to pick some up, stick it in your cupboard and have it on hand. If you don't have this, you can always mix it up with some of those finicky little bouillon packets. Go ahead and do that. If that's what you've got. There's a little bit left in there. Once it's open, put it in the fridge, okay? It needs to be stored in the fridge now that it's been opened. I think our pan is ready. We will start. You know what? I've changed my mind a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat down on that for a second. I want to get my onion and celery ready so that when this onion is terrible, it's squishy. It's going in the compost pail. I have more. I'm down here. I'll be right back. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah, I should have touched that one sooner. Just now I thought, oh. And you know what? To be honest, I picked it because it was growing. And I thought, oh, I'll get it out of the bag. But it was growing because it was done. You just need 1 stalk of celery, okay? And do thin slices. It's gonna cook away into almost nothing, but we want that good flavor. 1 stalk is all you need. Celery, you can almost always get some celery for $2 to $3, just about anywhere. And so handy to have on hand, and of course in lunch kits, right? Sticks of celery. Celery is one of those things that they claim you use more calories eating it than you do actually consume. So it's brilliant, really. I always get rid of the ends because they start to dry out a bit. Take an end off, take another end off. I'm still working on onions I bought a couple of weeks ago at No Frills, 10-pound bag of onions for $4. Like, really? However, at Zehrs this week, if you didn't buy them when they were that silly cheap price, at Zehrs this week you can get a 3-pound bag of onions and a 3-pound bag of carrots, which is what I bought for our meal, 2 for $4, so $2 a piece, easy, like no brainer. So get in there and get that good deal too. I had potatoes already, but a 10-pound bag of potatoes is just $3, $2.99. So again, now I'm not going to chop this onion up too much. I'm just making nice thin slices, and that's how we're going to put it in. I like to see the onion in my roast. So you're just doing nice thin slices to get it ready. I wanted this to be ready so that as soon as the roast is seared, I can keep adding the other things. So we'll do that. That's going to be good. Turn this heat back up. Cast iron pans, be careful and remember the whole pan is going to be hot. Don't pick it up without pot holders or oven mitts. I'm just smoking that around. It's lovely now. And let's get that beef in. Shannon, you want to come close so we hear the sizzle? I've got just a fork. And there it is. That's what I want to hear. Just a fork. Push it around quickly so that it doesn't stick. Okay? You don't have to do a whole lot. If you push it right up against the side, that end will get a little bit of heat on it too and sear in. And that's exactly what we want to have happen, okay? Because that would be awful hard to turn it and stand it up on that skinny little end. So use your pan. Use the sides of it. I just told you the handles will be hot, so too are the sides. Just doing that. And now let's give it a flip. Same thing. Push that end right up against there so you can start cooking it. You might as well. You might as well. I just move it so it doesn't stick, because sometimes it will. It's pretty hot. It's hot. I'm turning it down slightly. I'm so excited to cook this meal with you today. You know, my family will tell you that for years I said, I want people to say, Margaret does a really good job of the roast. This is, I don't need it to be brilliant. I just want to hear people say, she does a good job. They tease me every time they say, you did a good job. So hopefully, if you don't already do it this way, I hope that my method is going to help you get the same accolades at the dinner table. Who doesn't want to be a little bit recognized? And let's tip again. You can see we're getting good color on there, okay? And that's all we're aiming for, is just to get some color. We're not trying to cook it, we're trying to color it. And I think, yeah, we're good. Okay, so at this point, what I want to do is get those onions and celery, push them in the pan, and then we're going to add our wine and broth. That's the wine. Pour it right over your beef so we get that flavor in there. Look at how easy this is and how beautiful it is. Don't skip the step of searing the beef, okay? Don't skip it. It's important, it matters, it makes a difference. As soon as that's at a full boil, we're gonna lift it off the heat. We're gonna bring it over here, put it on this wet towel because it's gonna be hot. We're gonna cover it, and then it's going in the oven. Just like that. Honestly, a beautiful meal. This is not hard work, okay? It's really not. I want it to come to a boil. I'm gonna give it a little bit of heat. It's so simple, so simple, and I love this meal, and I know you are too, and your family. I mean, come on. While that's working, I brought a little bit of rosemary and sage from my collection of herbs at home. Let's go ahead. I'm going to crumble it right in here, and then I'll just spill it over the lot. If you've got fresh sprigs, even better. I'm going to get rid of that stick. And yes, if you've got some fresh, go for it. It's beautiful. It'll make it look like a big deal when you put, look, I was losing a little. Sage and rosemary, I don't know, we've probably got a tablespoon of each. I'm going to sprinkle it over everything. Look at that. So nice. Like, it's already a big deal. Right? Invite everybody over to the stove to have a look at what you're up to. Say, come on, so they properly know the hard work. Hardly hard work. We'll do that. I was losing a little piece. It's just about out of boil. Voila, right? Are you kidding me? Sometimes I use tongs to turn it. If you've got a big roast, you might need tongs. I just grabbed the fork and it worked out fine. That's about a 2-pound roast, and that's what I would suggest is a good number to work with. This is out of boil. Heat's being shut off. I'm bringing it over. Now, the only thing to remember about cast iron is it's heavy. Okay, be ready for it. We want to cover it up tight so we don't lose our juice. gonna be hot, so just be careful. My hands are too bad. There. We want to get that on good and tight. It's not good and tight. It's jumping all over the place. It's what it's doing. There. Okay. Pinch it down. If you have oven mitts, they're easier to use than pot holders. That's good to go. We're going to put it in our 375-degree oven, which mine's ready. And stop that. There. Okay. In she goes. Sometimes the convection fan can blow my foil around. I'm going to keep an eye on it. I've got 75 minutes on the timer. There it is. I see it now. Push start. That's going to be happy. 75 minutes, and then we're going to add our potatoes and carrots. Right now, let's get our potatoes and carrots ready so that we can walk away from it and sit down and be done. I've suggested, so again, the carrots, like a 3-pound bag. This is maybe a third of the bag. 3-pound bag for $2. It's a no-brainer. You're going to use them. Same as the celery. What you don't use in the dinner is going to go in lunch kits, right? Of course it is. I like using a peeler for carrots. I'm faster with the knife for potatoes, but you take a lot off the carrot, and also it's pretty easy to cut yourself if you're using the knife to peel carrots. You can get going way too quick. So these carrots, they're lovely, by the way. They're big, right? Like I said 4 to 6 on the recipe, but I mean you're going to know how many you need according to the size of them. I've taken out 5 now because I thought I'd split the difference. I'm going to do this, get this ready. I'll just do 2 carrots for now. Because we're going to put them in a bowl with some water over them to keep them fresh. We'll do that. You know what? Maybe I'll just use this to put them in too. So just to show you what I have in mind, I like cutting the carrots in spears for a roast. I think they look nice. So if you go in half, I usually take the very tip off. And then in half again. That's probably a fine size. If you want to go smaller, you can, but I think this is probably sufficient. This end is much wider, so we're going to have to go again. I might, yeah, half will do. Basically, just make sure that they are all about the same, right? It's fine. So just, you're going to do all of your carrots the same way, just to get them going. Stop that. And there. You know what? These are kind of big. I'm changing my mind. They'll look nicer on the plate if we go another. Okay? We want them to look nice on the plate. We're making a fancy meal here. Do it again. I know, right? It's me. But you want it to look as fantastic as you can, because this is feeling like a Sunday supper. Who grew up like that? I mean, people used to do that every Sunday, eat the same meal and that kind of thing. It was always like that. I don't think people don't do that anymore, not the same. But that was always the thing. Every Tuesday was the same meal, and every Sunday was the same meal. I don't know. I guess it was availability. I mean, these days we're so spoiled, right? Like we get whatever we want whenever we want. I'm gonna go 3. So we don't eat the same way, but I think that must have been at least part of it. That habit of eating that way. So you can see what I've done with those. Now for the potatoes, you can afford, I like cutting them in, depending on your potato, you can either cut it in a wedge or you can cut it just in cubes. We'll see when we get this one peeled what we want to do. The wedges look kind of nice on the plate, but ultimately I think people are gonna drown their food in that delicious gravy you've got going on. So maybe it doesn't matter too much. Whoops. And look at the compost we're creating. That's coming back to us as next summer's garden, right? Like next summer we're eating this. That compost pile, you know it's funny, our compost pile grows things all the time because we throw all the food waste in. And I've had other people tell me the same thing, like they'll have a tomato plant or a head of lettuce growing in the compost. Isn't that fantastic? It comes back as more food, even when you don't mean for it to. It's just in there growing, happily. So I'm going to go like that. These are big potatoes. If it was smaller, you could call that a wedge, but I'm gonna do this. And you can see about the size. You want them to go on people's plates in a nice way. They don't have to eat it in one bite, but you don't want huge ones or little tiny diced hashed brown potatoes in your roast either. I'm a little bit messy. That gives you a good idea. Here's the thing, this is a long meal. I'm not gonna ask Shannon to hang around and wait for our oven to cook the roast dinner. She's got better things to do right now than that. So what we're going to do, I'm gonna finish these off camera. At the 75-minute mark, the potatoes and carrots will be added to the roast. If possible, we'll put it on camera, and if not, I'll see you when it's ready to come out of the oven. Okay, let's finish this dinner. So at the 1¼ hour mark, I added the potatoes and carrots, covered it all back up, and whew, there we go. We'll stick a fork in it, make sure it's done. And that's it. Now, as always, be careful when you take off the foil. I added some foil when I added the potatoes and carrots. I wanted to make sure I didn't lose my gravy. We're going to be able to reuse it, don't worry. The other thing, you know what? Foil is recyclable, so choose it when you can. Look at this pot. Look at that. Okay, potatoes are good. Carrots are good. Pork tender, look, it broke in my hand. And look at that beef. Holy macaroni, we're in for a treat. Now, you see what I've done here? I've got these handy cafeteria trays, but you have baking sheets at home. If your cutting board doesn't have the little trough thing in it to catch liquid, do this and then it won't run all over your counter, okay? And here we are. Look at that, that's beautiful. This is gorgeous. We're just gonna set that right there. We're gonna leave it a second. It's beautiful. We're gonna just do this, tent it. That's all that's meant by tenting. I mean, big deal, right? Fancy talk for put some foil over it. I've got a slotted spoon. I'm gonna fish out my veggies. Look at all that beautiful sage and thyme in there. You don't have to be too concerned. If there's a little bit of pan juices in there, it's not gonna hurt anything, is it? It's gonna be delicious. Look at the meal you've got ready for your family, right? Are you kidding me? And don't forget, we did this for less than $20. Less than $20. And that was buying everything. I mean, you might have come in for less than that. Just keep scooping them all out. Again, thanks to the generosity of Zares, we will be sharing this food. We'll pass it forward to a family here in Orangeville. Lucky ducks this week, right? Wish it was going to my house, to be perfectly honest. It's not what I'm making for dinner tonight. And look at how beautiful this food is. So thank you again to Zares, their generosity. They and No Frills never even act like they're scared when I'm coming. And it isn't that sweet, just that alone. Look at how good this looks. I'm fishing. It seems like I've got lots of potatoes and carrots. I was good for that. And all we're gonna do after that, I've mixed up, just to show you, I did this off camera, but I know we've done it before. Sorry about that, loud noises. I know we've done it before. I did about 2-3 tablespoons of cornstarch and then blended it with some water just to make a slurry, so that when this comes to a boil, we'll thicken our gravy, and that'll be that. Look at the bowl of veggies I've got, you guys. Holy macaroni. There's no macaroni in sight. This is all good food. Beautiful. Almost through them all. There's some of that nice celery in there. Remember, we cut that up for flavor. We're fishing out the last ones. I would suggest if you have a nice loaf of bread that you could serve with this, that would be a good idea because the gravy is phenomenal, so people will be happy to have it. As before, we'll cover that just to keep them warm, okay? We're not doing anything special there. We're just going to keep them warm. I'm going to get this gravy going. The meat's happy to rest. And then we'll slice the meat when the gravy's done. Bringing it over here. We'll get some heat under it. And just going to bring it up to a good boil, and then we'll whisk in our cornstarch slurry here. Slurry is kind of a funny word. I don't know. I mean, that's just what it's called. What else would you call that, right? It is what it is. And we can, I'll clean that up. I'm not going to be nervous about it. I've got a whisk. If you've got a whisk, use it. Otherwise, use a fork so that you don't get any lumps. It's at a boil now. We don't want this gravy to be too thick, so we'll go a little at a time and see where we end up. As it boils, it will thicken. At the same time, I've got lots of gravy here, so we may need all of it. We'll just let it start, keeping it at a good boil, and turn it up slightly. There we go. I want it to boil because that's how we'll know when it's thick enough. If by some chance I don't have enough thickener here, easy enough to fix. But I think it's probably going to be great. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I don't like beef gravy too thick, to be honest. I like it to be almost an au jus, as they say in the restaurants, right? Beef au jus. I do like poultry gravies to be on the more thick side. I don't know what the difference is really, but personal preference. It's coming along beautiful, and once we get this where we want it to be, I'm going to turn the heat right off because it is super hot. We'll leave it sitting on that, but turn it off. There we go. And one last whisk just to make sure. I feel confident that's going to be great. I also feel confident that that whisk will knock that over. I'm turning the heat right off because I know it's going to be fine right like that, okay? Our beef. I'm going to move this handy cutting board and pot thing. We'll come over here. This I'm done with. Look at all this stuff I'm just calling dishes. Now, you can see right off the bat, because this is a boneless piece of beef, there's some string on there. We need to get rid of it first. Oops. I'm going to not hit Shannon's camera with it. And usually if you get one good cut in there, you can get all of it off. This roast is gorgeous. Holy Dinah. I'm not sure that there's going to be much in the way of slicing required. I think it's probably pretty darn good. Look at how nice it looks. This I'm going to cut right here. Look at that. Really nice. Now you want to cut across the grain so we can see the grain kind of going in this direction. You can see these lines. So you want to cut across them. So we're going to go this way. I'm going to flip it over because that's a nice flat side to have down. And look at that. Oh my goodness. I kind of want to eat it right now. Which is the privilege of the person doing the slicing, right? If they get little bits. Being a meat slicer is never a bad job as far as I can tell. Look at how nice that looks. It's just perfect. It's not overdone. It's just lovely. There we go. I don't feel obliged to cut the whole thing on camera. I want us to make a nice plate. I'm going to set that like that. Just going to whisk this once more. Make sure we're looking good. Looks good to me. And once again, I haven't made it too thick. You're going to suit yourself. If you like a thicker gravy, then by all means make it a thicker gravy. Just more of that slurry is all you need. Let's make a plate. Let's just get eating, shall we? So we've got this. And we can get some carrots. See what I mean about the carrots when they're in spears? They do look nice, don't they? They do. That's getting away from me. And one more. And then we'll get some nice potatoes in here. Look at them, they've got good color. I like when you cook the potatoes in the broth like that, in the pot. Excuse me again, they take on that nice color and look good, right? It looks especially nice. Do that again. We'll get a few pieces of beef. And now, some gravy. I'm going to put gravy on the whole business. So coming over here, and on the beef, and on the vegetables, and a little drizzle on the carrots even. That's fine. And we have pot roast with carrots, potatoes, beautiful beef, gravy. What a nice meal. Big ticket meal, small budget. Bon appetit. I'll see you next week. Remember, if you enjoy this, like, subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notified, which by the way, next week is a local food club kit week, so it will be on Wednesday. Take good care. Quit letting food eat up all your time and money. This is beautiful food, easily made.